I think Howie did an extraordinary job. I'm looking to crawl, walk, and run with this team. And what I mean by that is I want to win the NFC East before we can even talk about anything else. You've got the Dallas Cowboys, which I think took a step back this offseason. For some reason, and maybe I'm completely off base here, but it feels like Dallas took a step back in several directions. I'm more concerned about the team to my, let me see, where I'm sitting in North Jersey right now. The team slightly to my west down Route 3 here. I'm more concerned about the rise of the Giants.
Appreciate you jumping in here on Birds 365 with the Mac and Mac guys. All right, our first catch of the day is grinding through a baseball season. Hasn't been all that much of a grind. His team seems to win every night. Yankees with the best first half of any team in Major League Baseball. But before you know it, September's going to be here, and he's going to have to split his time on the turnpike between calling Yankee baseball and Eagle football en Espanol. The voice of the Philadelphia Eagles in Spanish. Our buddy Rickie Ricardo joined us here on Birds 365. ¿Qué pasa, amigo?
Good morning, gentlemen. Everything is well. I am recovering quickly here in the last 48 hours from a little eye surgery. So we're back up and running. And I would only get up this early in the morning for two people. My wife and John McMullen. And I'm actually...
I appreciate that, Ricky. Yeah, Jody told me he guilted you in to getting up this early.
It's a pleasure to be with you, obviously.
Now, is it LASIK surgery? I thought you would have to rest your voice from calling all those home runs. You gotta rest the pipes. I mean, there's so many home runs from that Yankees team. I thought it would be about that.
The pipes are getting a rest here for a couple. Well, the Yankees have a double header for Pete's sake tomorrow. We get back before everyone else does, because it's all because of the lockout. But the Yankees Houston tomorrow, and they have a 1:10 game and a 6:40 game, and before they fly and go to Baltimore for the weekend. No, it was not LASIK. It was actual surgery to get the glaucoma out of my left eye before I go blind. And we've got a new lens, the whole thing. It's still a little bit blurry. It's going to take a few days for everything to come into focus. But hopefully, and I have some of the best doctors in the Philadelphia area, Dr. Mary Jude Cox and the great people at Will's Eye, who are some of the best in the country at what they do. And they've told me that, I won't miss any more home runs, and I'll know exactly what yard line that the ball is at this year. Okay, so I won't need a spotter anymore. How about that?
Here's more good news. One of the Eagles' key offseason additions can't be missed. That's Jordan Davis on the defensive line. He's a big sucker, Ricky. Yeah. Even you, while getting better over the glaucoma surgery, should be able to pick him out without much of a problem. Jordan Davis et al. Do you like the Eagles' offseason's addition? Do you think Howie Roseman upgraded this roster enough to put the Eagles on top and a potential division winner?
I do. I think Howie did an extraordinary job. I'm looking to crawl, walk, and run with this team. And what I mean by that is I want to win the NFC East before we can even talk about anything else. You've got the Dallas Cowboys, which I think took a step back this offseason. For some reason, and maybe I'm completely off base here, but it feels like Dallas took a step back in several directions. I'm more concerned about the team to my, let me see, where I'm sitting in North Jersey right now. The team slightly to my west down Route 3 here. I'm more concerned about the rise of the Giants. For some reason, my gut tells me the Commander situation in Washington is maybe at a kind of a standstill. Maybe it didn't get better, didn't get worse. They did re-sign the good receiver that they've got. But I think Howie did a hell of a job putting together this roster. It's all going to come down to the quarterback, but there are some spots where there was a lot of improvement made that I'm really looking forward to watching.
How do you think those expectations, I think you're right, Ricky. I think Dallas has taken a step back. But I think, with that comes enhanced expectations. and the playoff berth that people didn't expect last season plays into it. So now all of a sudden you're a playoff team. You're expected to be a playoff team again. You still have a very young head coach. You still have a very young quarterback, as you mentioned. Can those expectations, you deal with it all the time with the Yankees, expectations there.
Mm-hmm.
Can that factor in and be a negative, especially for a young team?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a weight that comes with this kind of expectation, with this kind of prelude to this team. I'm not sure whether there are certain guys that are going to have sophomore, quote unquote, sophomore slumps or things of that nature. The health issue has been huge, with this team over the years. Depth, if there's one thing about this roster that worries me, is depth. If you get a key injury in certain spots here, the depth is very, very thin. So things could turn around on a dime. Now, it bothers me that a lot of people are saying, well, Detroit opening day, that's a win. I mean,
yeah.
Opening day, everyone's a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah. I hate playing bad teams early in the season.
The Lions aren't. Come on, let's be serious. The Lions are not even on opening day, the Lions aren't a Super Bowl contender.
But I hear what Rickie's saying. From my mentality is, you want to play a bad team late in the season when they know they're bad.
Exactly.
Everybody's fired up for the opener, the home opener, even the Detroit Lions. If you're going to lose to a bad team, you're probably going to lose to them early in the season before they realize how bad they are.
I agree 100%. And, that the expectation question for me really comes into play right off the top. Get through that road game on opening day, and you're going to come back and play a Viking team that I really can't put my finger on. How good are they?
Nobody knows.
Kirk Cousins, does he take a step forward this year? Is it one of those big events? It's a weird 2 games on the same night, Monday night or on the 19th. There's just a lot of different factors involved here. If they can get by these first 2 games, believe it or not, it may sound weird. To me, the heat of the season raised right off the top because the expectation factor is there. If everything goes to form and as to plan and what we think is logical, that they beat the Lions, that they come home and take care of business against the Vikings, okay. Well, now we're on track. We're 2-0. Let's move forward here. But it's really, it's slipping right at the top of the season that bothers me the most.
Rickie Ricardo here with us on Birds 365. All right, Rick. Everybody talks about the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, they should. We don't have a finished product in Jalen Hurts. We saw him take steps last year, kind of came back down to earth in the playoff game against Tampa. And now people everywhere want to speculate on what kind of quarterback Jalen Hurts is going to be. I am of the belief that we're not going to know until after your 2 most important games of the year, the first 2. Everyone wants to be able to depict what kind of player he's going to be by how he looks in playoffs, by how he's going to play in these controlled scrimmages. And I don't think he's going to play in any of those preseason games. He didn't last year. Why should we think he is going to be this year? When is Rickie Ricardo going to know what kind of quarterback Jalen Hurts is going to be in his 3rd year in the NFL?
Good question. He's one of these guys that's a real head scratcher to me. I can't question his work ethic. I love all the intangibles about this guy. I love. It's the tangibles.
Yeah, I know. It's backwards.
It's backwards. About it. It's usually the other way around. With a young quarterback, you can see the talent clearly, and you wonder about the intangibles. With Hurts, is completely the opposite. I love all the intangibles. I'm still not sold on the basic quarterback talent of this guy. How long will it take? I'll give you I'll tell you what. If by the time the Yankees are either eliminated from the playoffs in late October, early November, or we have a parade down the Canyon of Heroes in Lower Manhattan, that time frame, 6 to 8 weeks from the beginning of the season. That's how long I'm going to give enough rope for Jalen Hurts looking at the schedule. But by the time they get to the bye week in mid-October, I think we'll know what we've got on our hands one way or the other.
Well, if you take that sort of sentiment back to last season, Ricky, and the Eagles got off to the bad start. They had the great opener in Atlanta, and then all of a sudden they're 2-5. They got to scale back the offense. They got to go from pass heavy to run first. More than Jalen's personal play, would that tell you something? In other words, are the Eagles going to go into this season and saying, we got to see if this guy can throw the football? So, in other words, exactly what they did at the beginning of last season. And if they scale back, even if they're 5-2, forget the record, and they say, we're not throwing the football well, but we're running it well, and this becomes a run first, run heavy, whatever you want to call a team, is that more important than any statistic or benchmark, anything you want to call it, from a yardage standpoint with Jalen Hurts?
Well, if that's the case, John, then the guy becomes a game manager to me.
Yeah.
If we're going to scale back again, either we have got a guy that's going to take a step forward, become a legitimate thrower of the football, or we're going to become a system offense and have things work the way they did second half of last year, where Hurts was basically, Trent Dilfer, of the old Raven teams. That, if we fall into that trap, then you can just replace Hurts with just about anybody. You want to bring Jimmy Garoppolo in here? You can do that. So I want to see the guy become the dynamic game winner, not game manager, not the guy that just don't lose the game for me. No, I want to see Jalen Hurts become a ball in his hands with a minute and a half left in the game and you're down 4. A field goal's not going to help you, and he's going to march down the field and get a win out of a situation like that. Not a game manager, not a guy that we're going to scale back because we're not convinced. If we get to that point, then we may as well at the end of the season just, start from scratch and look for another QB. So no, I'm rolling the dice with this guy. Either we're going to get the most out of Jalen Hurts and he is going to reach a level that we're comfortable with for now and a long time to come, or we're going to plan B at some point and moving on from him and looking at someone else.
All right, Ricky, you shared an interesting take with us right off the bat that you think those 2 games that start the season this year could be huge for the Eagles. I want to look at the full 17-game sched. Off the top of your head, 17 matchups this season. How many do you think are against teams that made the playoffs last year?
Well, I've got the list right in front of me. I guess there aren't many, Jody.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the number.
The Cowboys twice.
It's 6. Cowboys twice.
Green Bay, Tennessee.
Right. Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers. Everybody forgets the Steelers snuck into the playoffs.
And these aren't even the same Steelers.
Right. No. Big Ben. Of those 6, how many of those teams were winners in the postseason?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Dallas got eliminated. Steelers got eliminated. Okay, I see where you're going here, Jody. Yeah, 0.
That would be an offer. Mm-hmm. So in their 17 games they've got on the sched this year, not one team was a playoff winner last year. I think they were dealt a pretty soft hand here, Ricky, and that's why I think we want to always temper the optimism, but it should be there because they got an easy schedule again. I know they got some breaks last year with some injuries and they played 8-string quarterbacks, but there's not a killer murderer's row on the Eagles schedule again this year either, Ricardo.
No, there is at what point do we have, I think, a 3-game road trip? There's a 3-game road trip smack in the middle of December.
Yeah.
All right. Now that's
ends on Christmas Eve in Dallas in North Texas.
we're talking
Arlington.
about between my birthday, which is December 4th, against the Titans. From that point, they don't play another home game until New Year's Day. Basically, you're talking about the entire month of December on the road. Now, those three opponents are the Giants, the Bears, and that Christmas Eve matchup at the Dallas Cowboys. That could come into play, and I get their week. Look, I love Jody. You're right. I love this schedule. Now, as we all know, in the National Football League, the schedule is only worth who's on your schedule for the following week because of injuries, the way things play out. So to look at the schedule from a distance and say, yes, if you're going by results from last year, this schedule right here is fantastic and something they can work from. But I tell you what, that if there's anything that even resembles a bit of a gauntlet, it's the month of December with 3 straight on the road when you're trying to hopefully wrap up either a division or at least a wild card playoff spot.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot. If you need that game to win the division in Dallas on Christmas Eve as the third of a 3-game road trip in the NFL, which is rare, that is the one tough spot on that schedule where I say that's not fair, that's not good, that's not a good situation for the Eagles, but it is what it is, and you got to fight through it. Mm-hmm. Rickie, to me, I think this is a pretty good team. I said, if you look at this roster from 2 to 53, it's darn good. It's a playoff team. Mm-hmm. Depends on the quarterback if they can be a significant contender. Jody and I got them at 11 wins. Looking at that schedule, we all play the wins and losses game, blah, blah, blah. If we're at the same spot we were last year, in other words, you might have a couple more wins, 11 wins. You get to Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs and you get waxed again. What do you do?
Yeah. There's the conundrum with the future of this roster. Was it Jalen Hurts? When we get there, let's say, and I agree, I think this is an 11-16. But let's say they get to Lambeau. Or Lambeau comes to them. I mean, who knows? Maybe Brady comes into Lincoln Financial Field. If they get to one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFC, how do you grade the season? How do you look forward? That's the issue. That's going to be the biggest thing for a guy like Howie Roseman to deal with in the offseason. I don't think this team is a Super Bowl contender, albeit I think they take a leap forward, and I agree with you guys. I think they win 11 games. But at the same time, I'm saying, well, they win 11 games. I have them winning the NFC East, so I have them playing at home at least one game in the postseason. But there's going to come a point in the NFC run when they're going to probably run into, and I'm not so much convinced it's Brady, because I think Fournette showed up 30 pounds heavy. There's some things going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just don't trust. They have a new head coach with, Bruce is stepping back. But Green Bay and Rodgers, you're going to have to get to a bowl, to get to a Super Bowl, I think you're going to have to go through Lambeau and or at least Aaron Rodgers at some point. And I don't think even an 11-6 Eagle team has enough by then to get by the superstar quarterbacks in the conference.
Rickie, the Eagles did upgrade the roster during the offseason. A.J. Brown's addition should be a significant one, if not a huge one, for the Birds. We know what players are returning from last year's teams and or previous teams. Who's the most exciting Philadelphia Eagle player to call as a play-by-play guy?
Well, I'm hoping this year it's Brown. I'm hoping it is. But I tell you what, Jody, you know who I've had a lot of fun calling, and I'm looking forward to this year? I'm looking at the defense, and I'm looking at our corners. I think this is going to be with the Bradbury addition. I think Darius Slay is going to have a big year this season. I love calling defensive touchdowns, and a pick six to me as a broadcaster, a pick six to me is one of the most exciting plays to call. But I tell you what, I think the addition of Brown is going to most significantly help, and I think this year I'm going to have the guy's name right there at the tip of my tongue. But Devontae Smith, to me, takes a big leap this year. I am a Devontae Smith guy. And I think the mere fact that Brown's on the other side and hopefully Hurts his progression as a quarterback, but I think the guy to watch this year, I'm a big, big supporter and fan of Devontae Smith. I've got to come up with some catchy stuff for some of his touchdown calls. I think I'm going to have a ball calling number 6 this year.
Yeah, you must have had a ball calling Slay last year with the 3 defensive touchdowns. One of his great quotes in the Denver game was the city versus the country fumble when that was phenomenal. And he took that home by Teddy Bridgewater, who gave the Olay as Darius Slay went by. So yeah, those defensive touchdowns, I could see it as a broadcaster. The COVID stuff, where are you guys when it comes to doing games, especially road games? Anything getting back to normal, or is everything at the link?
You know what, John? I have no idea. It all depends on Mr. Reese. Whatever we go by, we follow what Mr. Merrill Reese is doing. So if Merrill and his crew, and now we have all kinds of new variants coming up.
Yeah.
More than likely, if I haven't heard anything about travel by this point, and I'm talking even preseason, I mean, I know I'll be doing the Jet game. Jody, who the Yankees play on that night? The Red Sox, but the Red Sox are 100 games behind the Yankees.
Oh, take a shot, why don't you, Ricardo?
On Friday, August the 12th, it's a Yankees at Red Sox game at Fenway Park. I am going to do Jets at Eagles, but I'm still not sure about some of these preseason games get broadcast on simulcast. The Eagle Spanish broadcast is simulcast to all of Mexico on Mexican television. This year, obviously, there's only the one home game, so that game will be the Jet Eagle game on August the 12th. But I haven't even been told if there's a road trip to either Cleveland or Miami for preseason games. So my gut tells me, John, that we'll be back to doing remote broadcasts all year from the link. Look, Fox, NBC, CBS, the league provides an incredible array of different views. What do they call the all 22, which is great with the entire scope of the field, and especially for us who don't get the pick of the litter as far as broadcast position is concerned, especially in places like Lambeau where we're basically a broom closet, out in the corner. I don't mind one bit just driving over to the link to doing the road games off the monitors. I have no issue with it, but it all depends on one Merrill Reese.
Understood. And Merrill, of course, the voice of the Eagles for, I think it's 3,000 years, but I'm an old enough guy that I can take that shot.
Who's been around longer, Jody? Reese doing the Eagles, Sterling doing the Yankees.
Damn, yeah, both of those guys were basically born into those jobs, 2 all-time greats. All right, Ricky, as you've mentioned a couple times here, guys you've seen and called with the Eagles and the excitement level that you're going to have this year. You're also a talk show host here in town, which means you've got to deal with Eagle Nation.
Yes.
You've probably got a pretty good feel on what the Eagle fans are looking for, the level that they put this team coming in. John and I kick this back and forth basically on a day in, day out basis. The expectations from the Eagles fans. There's the expectations within the Eagles themselves, and Jeffrey Lurie kind of sets the bar on that one. But then there's everybody else. Where do you think the Eagle fans are at right now? A good spot, got a good grasp on how talented this team is, where they are in the hierarchy of the NFL? Maybe a little over the top, a little too excited, about what this team did during its offseason, how it's going to play out on the field? Can they do any of the fly under the radar thing because they aren't the defending division champions? The Cowboys are. Where do you think Eagle Nation is with this team right now? A good place, a little overly excited, or a little underwhelmed?
I'll refer back to the recent quote from J.J. Redick. What was it, Jody? About Philadelphia talk radio? What was the word he used?
I'm not sure. What
the adjective, a little over the top. Oh, no, delirious was the word that J.J. Redick used. I think the Eagles.
Somebody just ripped Philadelphia as well. Who? Oh, Papelbon. Papelbon just
idiot.
Ripped. Yeah,
Papelbon. What did Papelbon say?
Oh, you didn't hear that? Oh,
no.
That Philadelphia is a spit show, and you can change the P out for the correct letter. No leadership whatsoever. Bryce Harper is not a leader, never been a leader, never going to be a leader. The Phillies are never going to make the playoffs ever again.
Well, Papelbon had a fist fight with Bryce Harper, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I mean, delirious, I believe, was the adjective that Redick used. Look, the fan base is so hungry for a winner, and they lean on the Eagles because obviously it's the team that has brought them the latest, albeit now going back to 2018. But, the latest version of all-out joy came from the team dressed in green.
Correct.
Now, I do think that the sky's falling if there's a loss anywhere in here early in the season. We're going to hear that. The sky's falling, the world's ending. It's an apocalyptic situation. If they lose any, look, I could see them maybe going to Arizona and maybe getting tripped up. But let's say that going to Washington, you guys both.
That would be a tough one. That would be a tough loss. Or Doug coming here and winning. Doug coming here with Jacksonville winning.
Now, Doug comes in and wins a game at Lincoln Financial Field. Yeah, the sky's falling. The levity would be very, very high. But Tony, to answer your question, I think the expectation level is so high that it might be. I'd rather it get tempered down a little bit. Let's sneak up on some people. We're not the division winner. Vegas and most of the places that I look at for numbers and odds still have the Cowboys as the favorite to win the NFC East. So why don't we just be real quiet, as they said in the cartoons, and sneak up on everybody and enjoy this thing week to week instead of already throwing it out there that we're a playoff team. Here we come. We've got an easy schedule. And hit a brick wall at some point and hurt ourselves on the head.
At R_Ricardo FAN. You see it right there. Follow Ricky on Twitter. Listen to him on WIP. The voice in Spanish of the Yankees, occasionally in English when John Sterling takes
got a few of those
day off or two. Voice of the Eagles in Spanish. John is famous for his home run calls. Ricky, what's your favorite home run call for the Yankees? What player?
Oh, I don't have them individualized, but my favorite home run call in Spanish is Giancarlo Stanton. Simple. And Aaron Judge. Well, Judge is easy because there's so many ways you can go with it, in either language. But Giancarlo Stanton, if the old saying is he hit that ball a ton, right? In Spanish, a ton is una tonelada. That's a ton. So a tonelada goes very easy with a Stan tonelada.
Yeah, there we go.
So, and his mom loves it, when I call him Giancarlo Michael Cruz, Stanton, his entire name. So we get a kick out of the All-Star Game MVP and calling his home runs. It's a Stan tonelada.
Very good, Mr. Ricardo. Well, we'll let you get the rest of the Yankee season in, but looking forward to getting you back down to the press level at Lincoln Financial Field. I think we're sitting on a good season, Ricky. Maybe I'm guilty of one of those guys who's going to overstate the Eagles' chances this year, but I do. I think they're going to win the division. I'm not putting the Cowboys out.
Very quiet.
I've never been quiet in
I know.
30 plus years of doing this crap. So why should I start now? Ricky, good to catch up. Glad to hear the eye surgery went well. You'll be able to watch all those Eagle victories with no issue whatsoever this year. Thanks for hopping on with us, buddy.
Anytime, fellas. Pleasure to be with you.
Thanks.